else we got on our list to talk about there?
Well, actually, I think in the spirit of the reboot movie, we could talk a bit about the Power Rangers fan fiction I wrote back in the day.
All right.
And how that worked. I didn't get a lot of it done, okay? It was only half finished. And I just figure I'll go over the plot line. See, the whole thing started when I was watching Power Rangers one day, and I was thinking to myself, isn't it great that they live in a universe where everything just kind of fixes itself at the end of a half hour? You know, the cookies are always not overcooked, and there's always, like, something gets fixed. You know, oh my god, the monster ruined the International Food Festival. Somehow the food's all back and everything's fine. You know, what if they had to exist in the real world, where we live? You know, where Rita would see these teenagers fighting our monsters and say, hey, these little brats are getting on my fucking nerves. Why don't we kill them and their entire family? And I was like, okay, well, that never happens. But what if it did? Yeah. So then I was like, okay, well, let's start with that. So I was like, had this story. It takes place in the Power Ranger world where they reach into another world and pull someone else out, a criminal, who I hadn't really disclosed a lot about at first. But yeah, that comes back to us later. And the criminal is just a raging psychopath, completely off his fucking nut. They give him the Green Ranger powers and tell him to go tear shit up. So he winds up killing half the team. There's this whole very gruesome thing that it's all terribly hard. It makes the fan film look like an episode of the TV show. Because, yeah, okay, fine, splattered brains on the screen is one thing. But you tell me a ranger pulls off another ranger's arm and starts eating it? Yeah, that's when I've crossed a line. And I'm okay with that. But yeah, so they wind up making this crazy person the Green Ranger, and they're all kind of feeling weird about it because they're basically stepping outside the boundaries of their universe. They're doing things that should never have been possible. But then, you know, Zordon's like, okay, they have to get a handle on this, so he gets in touch with the world that evil Ranger came from, which is where we are. Because we're the only two left of our team. Sorry, guys. But, yeah, I wrote all of our friends from high school in as different Power Rangers. We didn't have the same colors or powers. I think I used mythical creatures for ours instead of dinosaurs. I had the Phoenix powers, and you had dragon powers.
Yeah.
You were the Black Dragon. And I remember Bob Claw was the one in the prison. We left him on the moon base without his powers because he lost a lot in the big war against evil, and he went batshit. So we left him up there off to himself where he couldn't hurt anybody. They pulled him into their world, turned him into a Power Ranger. In the meantime, the world's half destroyed. We're the only two Rangers left. We developed a device in the command center to take all the powers from all the Rangers that had been at one point or another in the universe, because Earth was the last planet left unconquered. Everyone else is dead. It's just the two of us. So we get all those powers, and we kind of become like Power Ranger-themed Tekka Men.
Yeah.
And we go wage a war against evil, and we defend Earth. But that's where we come into the other story, where we have to go to the other world, and we're basically back to our normal Ranger powers without all of our universe worth of power, because otherwise we would have smoked that entire thing and then blown the moon clear out of the sky just to stop the bad guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole idea of the story was just kind of like, because I'm a big fan of What If comics. I love What If comics. Yeah. It's like, you can do anything in a What If.
Yeah, What Ifs and Elseworlds are ultimate storylines, you know, for the franchises.
Yeah, and the entire run of the Exiles comic. It was just one long What If. It was just What If upon What If.
I love the Spider-Man Carnage. He was amusing.
Yeah. That was pretty funny.
He died with his prison number or something like that.
Yeah. It's like he didn't even really have a name anymore. They just remembered him as prisoner number blah, blah, blah. And he died horribly, as most people do in these books. But yeah, I didn't really get to finish the story where we actually stop the evil Green Ranger. I think probably we would have actually wound up helping him recover. And then he would have turned on the bad guys and probably murdered them horribly before we all got sent back to our world.
Just sick him off on a dog on a chain.
Yeah, once we get him back on our side, point him in the direction of the bad guys, he takes over.
We were a little malicious, though, back then. So, I mean, it's quite possible things could have turned around and we could have just turned on Zordon, you know, and...
Well, actually, Zordon was kind of on our shit list anyway, because he gave us the powers in the first place. I think I mentioned that when I told you about this before, but
Yeah.
he gave us the powers in the first place, but when he saw what we were doing with it and the kind of universe we lived in, the levels we had to reach to survive, we had to escalate a fight without being provoked. We had to be able to be like, you know what? We're going to morph and we're going to go to the fucking moon and we're going to level that goddamn moon base. Which is pretty much what we did, and Zordon was like, holy shit, you guys are abusing the power. I'm out of here. I don't want anything to do with you. Which makes it funnier that he had to come to us for help.
Exactly. Another Zordon.
But we've calmed down a lot since then.
Yeah.
We probably the overreaction probably would have been more measured now if I were to go back and retouch that.
Yeah. I kind of imagine Zordon as almost being like Dr. Manhattan in as far as like dimension, instead of maybe just through time, but also through dimensions.
Yeah.
He exists all at once.
He's an interdimensional being, and he puts himself in these little tubes to help save the world, and then something goes horribly wrong, and he's like, okay, that didn't work out, and he just disappears.
And sometimes he has a body, and sometimes he doesn't. Remember the Power Ranger movie, remember he had the...
Yeah, he actually, when they broke the tube...
He had the Anakin Skywalker body that popped out of the thing there.
Little wrinkled old man in a potato sack, basically.
Yeah. He said Anakin Skywalker. Not the Anakin Skywalker from the...
original.
Yeah,
the Ridge Tridge.
Yeah.
As they say.
When Darth Vader's helmet broke off and you saw that, fat dude's top of his head.
Which they kept up until Hayden Christensen decided to turn into a Force ghost.
Exactly.
Because fuck continuity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, think we're gonna go ahead and drop off the Power Rangers as we're right now?
No, I think we've covered everything. I mean, I really hope that the series continues. I mean,
yeah.
Well, maybe... I don't know. I mean, because, Sentai in Japan has been going for 35 years, but they take that shit seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the Japanese equivalent of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Doctor Who's been going for 50 years, and people take that shit serious. The Japanese equivalent, Sentai. I mean, we were talking about Spider-Man as a Sentai character. They don't really... It's not actually part of the Super Sentai universe that has all the stuff that we've come to know as the Power Rangers, because basically, this whole thing started kind of like Kung Pao, but more serious.
Yeah.
This guy bought a bunch of footage from a Japanese TV show, recut some dubbed lines over it, put some teenagers in between, and they're like, okay, now we've got a superhero show. And they milked it into one kind of terrible movie, one movie that was not horrible, but still not that great, and another movie that they're going to be doing a reboot.
Yeah.
It's going to be a completely original new Power Ranger story.
Yeah. Which I wonder if that's going to be a new Power Ranger team with the old Power Ranger powers, or if it's just going to be just a new series.
Yeah, start from scratch.
I could just see all of a sudden, Super Mega Shogun Zeo Force or whatever. I'm just throwing a name out there, which they were just going to do the next season anyway. But instead, they do a reboot movie where there haven't been any Rangers before this team.
But then there's the question of what happened then, because you remember the first movie, they made it independent of the TV show. They made it so they were the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they lost their powers, they had to get new powers, and then by the end of the movie, they had the new powers. You wouldn't see the movie, and you're like, oh my god, this is so awesome. You go watch the show, all of a sudden, Ninjor shows up.
Ninjor.
Yeah, exactly. Left that fucker in a jar in the Sea of Sadness or whatever.
Yeah, forever.
Because fuck that guy. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where, that movie existed completely independent of the TV show. It had the same basic characters. I mean, it had the characters that were in the show at the time going into the situation that kind of mirrored what happened in the show. But then they did the Turbo movie, where you actually had to see the Turbo movie at some point
to figure out what was going on.
How Turbo ended and how Zeo ended and how Turbo began. Because at the beginning of the movie, they were the Zeo Rangers. There was one of them almost morphed once.
Yeah, and then they hit the water. They just...
Predator technology?
Half morphed until they hit the water, and then it short-circuited.
Yeah, I guess it was because she was holding her arms like this, and when she hit the water, she kind of went... Because she had, hit the water, and apparently hurt her ankle when she hit the water. So she almost morphed once, and then they just didn't bother doing it again. But yeah, and then they were like, okay, well, this is going to continue in the show. So you go watch the first episode of Turbo. It's like, oh, by the way, we've got new powers. Oh, you didn't see the movie? Sucks to be you.
Like, we have a little kid as the Blue Ranger. Want to know what the fuck's going on? Watch the movie.
Want to know what the fuck's going on? Watch the movie and still be puzzled. Because really...
All I thought, child endangerment. It was just floating over the kid's head the entire time.
I mean, granted, when he morphed, he turned into an adult size to match the rest of the footage that they bought from the company. But yeah, and it's just one of those things. But yeah, it really raises the question of like, okay, they've just did the Megaforce, and they're going to do, I think, a new show, or they started a new show, the Dino Thunder, I think. And I've heard Jason David Frank talk about it once or twice, but, you know, wouldn't it be better to just restart the whole thing at this point?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, okay, nobody expected this to go as long as it has. I get that. Right? So when you get to the Legend War, where all of a sudden you've got Tommy back in the Green Ranger outfit, how the fuck did that happen? Well, apparently he just makes morphers in his basement in his spare time and hands them out to Rangers or former Rangers all over the world.
Yeah.
Because that's as far as I can guess what's happening. But in this new show, you could actually plan ahead.
Yeah, it's
like,
true.
You know, you want to start a new Ranger show? Great,
Yeah.
Start a new Ranger show. And the old one with all their powers still intact. As far as we know, they're still fighting, you know, monsters off in their city. Start focusing on this city.
Yeah.
And then 5 years down the line, when you have that Ranger show up again, it's like, holy shit, he was there the whole time.
Yeah, or if you're going to just reboot the universe with this show, this movie, reboot the entire universe for the series.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have any other Rangers show up, you know, this or that.
Well, although, you know who is hard line for a shot in that movie.
Yeah.
Come on, dog. I know, it's going to be cool, and eventually I will see it, but I'm still all fucking annoyed about the whole pulling the fan film thing. Yeah, it's a parody. It's fair use. It's, you know, they're not making money off of it. They're just doing this for the sake of doing it to entertain people.
Yeah.
But that's not good enough because it might interfere with people's perceptions of the reboot, which is stupid.
Yeah.
On so many levels.
And plus, Jason, you said yourself, kids aren't supposed to see this movie. You know, parents aren't going to show this movie to their children. So, this isn't a movie for kids, Power/Rangers. You know, sure, let them have their reboot. You know, whatever Saban has planned next year.
Just one other thing that's bugging the shit out of me right now. Bat in the Sun, really? Really?
Man, don't even...
Motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Really?
You've
been sitting on that Green Ranger Ryu battle for the last 4 fucking months. Don't tell me you haven't had time to edit it or do post-production.
Yeah, you
Go
finished...
fuck yourselves.
You finished that shit. You know, I could probably make the Ryu versus Green Ranger fight.
Yeah, you know what? Put on a Ryu costume, I'll put on a Green Ranger outfit, we'll set the camera up, we'll shoot it in a goddamn afternoon, he'll add special effects, we'll have it done by the end of the fucking week. You guys have had months to do this shit and something still goes wrong.
And you guys actually get paid.
Yeah, you guys got production team. What's your excuse? But yeah, that's my biggest gripe with the Power Rangers right now, is this whole Bat in the Sun.
Yeah.
Because I love the White Ranger Scorpion fight. That was awesome. Batman versus Darth Vader was stupid. Really?
Yeah.
Because, you know, we could do better character battles than this shit.
Yeah, I think we probably could.
You know, I think we should. Let's start fucking with these guys. You know, granted, we're not going to have the fancy special effects and the deadliest warrior fight scenes, but, you know, I can put together a better argument for why you should never put Batman in a superhero battle in the first place. Because prep time.
Yeah, you know what? I think maybe we should do maybe once a month, just do an episode just specifically to character battles.
I'll put some ideas together right now. You put some ideas together. Maybe if anyone has some ideas of the 5 people that watch our show regularly, you know, just jot them down in the comments.
Put it in the comments down below, whatever you want on that one. And, you know what? One thing we can do, too, that really you never really see the fans do. How about they get to choose? Like, we'll leave it open-ended, so...
But no Batman.
Yeah, you argue, or
Batman.
You argue your character, I'll argue my character. We'll throw things out there, and in the comments, we'll let the...
But what if we both like the characters?
We'll sort it out. Whoever likes the character least...
has to fight for them. No, wait.
Physical violence.
But yeah, okay, so fine. You got any comments or ideas or battles? put them in the comments. We'll look at them, and then, we'll probably do them. But no Batman.
And no capes.
No, never Batman.
No, capes are okay.
Well, okay, let me specify. Bruce Wayne as Batman is out of bounds. Because everybody knows he would lose 90% of the fights that they claim he would win. Prep time is such a bullshit argument. Anybody could win with prep time. I could beat Galactus with enough prep time.
Yeah.
All I need is prep time enough to go to the moon, rob the Watcher, and then set the ultimate nullifier off in Galactus' face. All I need is prep time!
Yeah. If Batman all of a sudden, he's just doing his normal swinging around kind of stuff, just fighting crime. And all of a sudden somebody as powerful as Superman shows up. Not Superman directly, because, of course, Batman has that little bit of kryptonite, or the kryptonite ring. And
let's just say Lobo shows up sporting for a fight out of nowhere.
Yeah, and Batman's
just swinging along on his rope, and then Lobo comes out of nowhere, flying on a motorcycle, swinging a goddamn meat hook.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah, and guess what? Batman is fucked.
Yeah. Not even a little bit fucked. Just full-on elephant dick pounding in the ass jungle fucked.
And considering what mood Lobo might be in, that might be more literal than not.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know about that new pretty boy Lobo.
I think especially the new pretty
Who fucking thought that was a good idea? Anyway, okay, you know what? I'm going to lift the Batman stipulation. If you want to see Batman fight somebody, you're going to see Batman fight somebody. But everything you say about prep time, you can shove it straight up your ass.
Yeah, another thing I think we should do is before we start each battle, come up with the scenario on how these two folks actually got...
You know what's stupid? I mean, I was watching Bat in the Sun for a while. And the only fight that I was completely unsatisfied with was the Max Payne, Walking Dead, Assassin's Creed, we couldn't find a good reason to have these four people fight, but let's have them fight anyway fight.
Well, I don't know. The Batman-Wolverine fight, if you remember that one, it was because Wolverine looked suspicious to Batman.
He stabbed somebody. That was suspicious.
See?
Batman was watching him. He stabbed him. Batman goes, oh, must be a criminal. Because that's what Batman does, so he goes and fights him. That makes perfect fucking sense.
But that's why Batman lost, because you know what Batman should have done? Research.
Spent 3 years researching mutation and how to counter it. 3 years of prep time, and Batman could take Wolverine.
Exactly. By bringing in the Justice League.
2 seconds of prep time,
It's I need some prep time. Yo, hey, Superman, you busy?
Superman, bring Bronze Tiger down here. We got some fun.
Anyway, I think we should wrap this up because we're getting a little bit ridiculous here.
Yeah. But, it's all part of the thing. Because that's all superpowers and stuff. It's like the Power Rangers themselves are like the Avengers at a certain point. They're their own superhero groups. They're the official superheroes of Japan.
Maybe we'll do a Power Rangers versus the Avengers.
Might have to allow at least one giant robot because of the Hulk.
Yeah,
okay, that's what we'll do. We'll put the Japanese Power Ranger Spider-Man on the Power Rangers team. Mavla!
Change me, pardon. Anyway, until next time.
Or whatever.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in for another episode on Real Talk.
Prep time.
Like, subscribe, do all that shit.
Yeah, if you had enough prep time, you could push the subscribe button. Doesn't take more than a second, though.
Booyah. You want a morpher! You want a morpher!
Everybody gets a look under your chair! There's a power morpher!
Like, oh, sweet Dino Thunder!